Remember, there's only room for one sovereign at a time, not two. So you can't be the same as the sovereign if you're the Prince of Wales.
For years, King Charles waited to be king. He had watched how his mother ruled for over 70 years until the opportunity finally came. It was a glorious event, one that filled him with pride, but King Charles's time as king now seems to be coming to an unexpected end after an unfortunate incident that made him officially name William and Catherine as heirs. This announcement shocked the nation. Why would the king name his son and daughter-in-law as heirs while he was still alive? Was this a sign of retirement or something far more serious? Let's find out. King Charles declares William and Catherine as heirs. "My life is over." These were the words King Charles spoke as he turned to William and Catherine, formally naming them as heirs. Could this mark the end of King Charles' reign? Stick around to find out. For the past 2 years, King Charles has reigned as the King of England. It was a dream fulfilled for him, especially as his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, had been the longest reigning monarch in British history, serving from the age of 25 until her death at 96 in September 2022. Queen Elizabeth was known for her compassion, dignity, and strength. She upheld the monarchy with a standard that was difficult to match. When she died, the crown passed to Charles and to the ever-determined Camilla, who had worked her way into the royal family and was crowned Queen Consort instead of the originally intended title of Princess Consort. For Charles and Camilla, it was a long-awaited victory. They were finally at the helm of the monarchy after decades of patience and surviving public criticism. However, when Charles became king at the age of 73, his reign began under the shadow of age and health concerns. It all started in January 2024, barely 4 months after his coronation, when Buckingham Palace announced that the king had been diagnosed with a benign condition and was undergoing a procedure that was common for thousands of men each year. At first, the announcement was vague, but it became clear that he had sought treatment for an enlarged prostate. Reports suggested that the public might never have known about his condition if not for complications related to the treatment that eventually forced him to leave Buckingham Palace for a time. Following the revelation of King Charles' health, the palace also announced that the king would be stepping back from public duties to focus on his health, which involved a schedule of regular treatment and medical supervision. When this announcement was made, many were shocked as the king's reign had just begun. The public sent their well wishes and prayers from all over the world. At the same time, details on the treatment of the king were not announced to the public. King Charles was out of sight from the monarchy, and this meant someone else was to take his place. His son, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, was next in line, but something stopped Prince William from taking this spot. However, at the same time, William could not fully take over his father's role. His wife, Catherine, Princess of Wales, had been unwell for some time. On the very day the king's diagnosis was announced, Kensington Palace also revealed that Kate was recovering from a planned abdominal surgery. This meant that while William stepped forward, much of the daily royal responsibilities fell to Queen Camilla and Princess Anne, the two most senior working members of the royal family. William took on what duties he could, balancing them with his wife's recovery, while Camilla fulfilled her expected role as Queen Consort. In February, less than a month after the king's prostate procedure, another health update was announced. This one was shocking and unexpected. Buckingham Palace revealed that King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. This was another bombshell that got everyone worried. Palace officials did not specify the type of cancer, only stating that it had been discovered during his medical check while doctors were working on the prostate procedure. They also confirmed that Charles had already begun a schedule of regular treatments and would be away from the spotlight, even though he would still be continuing state business and official paperwork as usual. This made it clear that King Charles was still determined to carry out his responsibilities and had no plans to slow down or allow anyone else to take his position. The king expressed his gratitude to his medical team for their swift intervention and said he looked forward to returning to his full duties. He also explained that he chose to share his health condition openly so the public would not be left to speculate or spread false rumors. Support poured in from all over, with messages wishing him a quick recovery. Even Prince Harry was reported to be flying in from California to see his father, worried about whether he might have limited time left with him. In the meantime, Prince William once again stepped forward to take on more of the monarchy's day-to-day duties. But then, another blow struck the royal family, forcing William, the future king, to step back from his increasing role. In March 2024, Catherine, Princess of Wales, was diagnosed with cancer as well. The exact type was not disclosed, but the news broke barely a month after the king's cancer diagnosis, shocking the public. Catherine, known for her kindness and devotion to her role, quickly became the center of a global wave of love, sympathy, and prayers. Her treatment began with major abdominal surgery, an important step in her fight against the illness. The procedure took its toll, both physically and emotionally, on Catherine and her family, especially Prince William, who could not focus on royal duties alone. Catherine withdrew from public life to concentrate on her recovery, and William also took time away to be with her and their children. With King Charles and Princess Catherine dealing with health issues, this added more strain to the royal family. But the royal family stood united and worked together to ensure that the monarchy wasn't affected by these health scares. On March 28, 2024, King Charles was unable to attend the royal Maundy service before Easter Sunday. However, he shared a pre-recorded audio clip with the public in which he expressed his sadness at being unable to attend the program due to his health. However, on Easter Sunday, he attended service at St. George's Chapel with Queen Camilla beside him. The public praised him for his strength and determination to continue working as king behind the scenes. But was this surprising? After waiting decades for the throne, was King Charles expected to hand over the reins because of illness? Keep watching as we unveil more. On May 13, 2024, the king spoke with a British military veteran who had also undergone chemotherapy for testicular cancer. He shared that he lost his ability to taste as a result of the cancer treatment. King Charles also revealed that he had gone through the same side effects. On the same day, King Charles handed over his title as Colonel-in-Chief of the Army Air Corps, a role he had held for over 30 years, to William. This was reportedly the first sign showing the king's plan to hand over more duties to his son. Still, King Charles returned to royal duties, even though he was still undergoing cancer treatment. In December, Trump shared with the public that William had said his father was fighting very hard to stay alive, and it was sad. Up until 2025, King Charles continued taking treatment, and although he didn't seem to be getting any better, he kept showing up. It was alleged he was showing up for Camilla, who had always wanted them to take over the royal monarchy. During King Charles's health scare, it was revealed that Camilla did not want him to inform the public about his illness, as she felt it would make him look weak to the people and put their reign at the center of criticism. Insiders reported that she wanted Charles to keep holding onto the reins of power for as long as he could. And that was what Charles did, even when he was unwell. He kept showing he was king by still taking on responsibilities and not passing them all to William. However, at a point, King Charles III could no longer pretend that he was fine. He called his son and Catherine, who was already much better and recovering well, and he declared them as heirs. Camilla was not happy about this decision, but there was nothing she could do, as Prince William was the next heir to the throne once King Charles died. And death was inevitable, just as it had been for Queen Elizabeth II, who had ruled for 70 years and seemed as though she would never hand over the throne to Charles. Yet she died, and Charles took the throne. And so it would be for Charles. William was also going to take the throne from him. With the world seeing less and less of King Charles, the stage was set for Prince William and Princess Catherine to take over. Wondering what would happen with William and Catherine set to take the throne? Stick with us to find out. Plans for the future monarchy, William and Catherine. Ever since King Charles fell ill, he has yet to recover and return to his normal state of health. This has placed Catherine and William at the forefront, but it has not been an easy ride for them. Catherine has been absent from many royal events, with William having to represent solo on several occasions. However, Prince William has hinted at his plans for the future. When William becomes king, he's made it clear that he would include more of the younger royals and less of the older royals.
Okay, guys, listen carefully, please. The beginning tempo will now go a little bit brighter, yeah?
As the younger royals didn't hold rigorously to the old tradition of monarchy, he also believed they were people with whom he could work towards modernizing the monarchy, as he believed the monarchy needed a touch of modern relevance, and working with the smaller R, the younger royals would help to bridge the relationship gap between them and the public. William also went on to explain that the decision to work with the younger royals was for the good of the people, as he was focused on impact, philanthropy, collaboration, convening, and helping people with empathy. He believes his approach will make them closer to the citizens of the United Kingdom, with more of the younger royals carrying out royal duties. Prince William's plan is an evolution. Rumors have it that he also has no plans to move into Buckingham Palace full-time, as he is focused on modernizing it. He wants the monarchy to give real impact to the people, one that they can feel in their daily lives. There have been talks about Prince William's approach being a hands-on style of monarchy, bringing an active royal presence involved in every part of royal life. Another visible change he has made is that he has removed the county lord lieutenants, who were officials who traditionally greeted royals at events. It has been noticed that they are rarely present at his engagements, as he feels they are not needed. From William's words about using the younger royals in his tenure, it was clear he had no plans to include Camilla in his future when he took over the monarchy.
I've been actually trying to keep quiet about reaching 3/4 of a century.
Camilla, being one of the older royals, and someone with whom he had a strained relationship, was not part of his vision. William's focus remained on working with the younger generation. One thing was certain: once he became king, William would push Camilla to the background. Even as Queen Dowager, after King Charles's death, she would not be active in William's monarchy. Still, Camilla has been determined to hold on to power and has tried to keep herself involved in the monarchy's future. Just like when Catherine was sick and unable to step up to her duties, Camilla was quick to step in. She made sure to prove that she was capable of fulfilling her role and working alongside William, hoping he would see a place for her in the future. However, William's plans have long been decided. Rumors say King Charles and Camilla have tried to persuade him to include more of the older royals in his plans, but William has reportedly stood firm. Even when he and Camilla have shown a united front, and he has publicly praised her good deeds and service, his separate plans remain unchanged. Those plans do not include Camilla. The woman who, in his eyes, broke his mother's marriage. William's plans focus on his family: Catherine, Prince Edward, and Sophie, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, who are stepping up, and trusted cousins Zara and Peter Phillips, along with Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, who will help when needed, though they will not become full-time royals. While William and Catherine have been carrying the duties of heir apparent, the truth is that we would not even be talking about Prince William or King Charles today if things in the monarchy had not taken an unexpected twist. If events had gone according to the original plan, Queen Elizabeth II would never have taken the throne, nor would her father. But what were the events that led to this? Keep watching to find out. Queen Elizabeth II, the longest-serving monarch in British history, began her reign at the age of 25 after the death of her father, King George VI, on February 6, 1952. But she was not crowned queen until a year later, when she and her husband Philip, a former naval officer who left his duty post to support his wife, were crowned prince consort. However, Elizabeth never imagined she would become queen. But how did the tides turn? Let's find out. Born on April 21, 1926, in Mayfair, London, Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was the first child of the Duke and Duchess of York, later known as King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. As a child, Elizabeth was nicknamed Lilibet. She enjoyed the first decade of her life with all the privileges of being a minor royal, without the pressures of being the heir apparent. This was because her father was the second son of King George V, which meant he was not expected to be king, so she just lived normally. However, in 1936, Elizabeth's grandfather died. His death marked a change in the monarchy as his son, King Edward VIII, became king. His reign was brief, as he met a beautiful divorcee named Wallis Simpson. Wallis was not just any divorcee. She had been divorced twice. Edward wanted to marry her, and he did not care about what anyone had to say. But the monarchy had strict rules that were expected to be obeyed, along with traditions they upheld, so they refused. It was unacceptable for a royal, even a king, to marry a divorcee. They turned their backs on him and told him he had to choose between the crown and the woman. King Edward VIII chose Wallis Simpson. He would rather walk away from the throne than from the woman he loved. That single act turned Elizabeth's family's life around. King Edward's brother, Prince Albert, Duke of York, Elizabeth's father, was next in line to be king. He ascended the throne, taking the regnal name George VI, signifying continuity with his father, King George V. This meant Elizabeth's life changed as she became heir to the throne, since her father did not have a male child, and her mother became Queen Elizabeth. But the story does not end here. Queen Elizabeth, Journey to the Throne. Queen Elizabeth began public life in 1939. At 14 years old, she made her first famous radio broadcast during World War II, speaking boldly to reassure the children of Britain who had been evacuated from their homes and families. She encouraged them that God would take care of them all and give them victory and peace. Elizabeth soon began taking more public duties. She was appointed Colonel-in-Chief of the Grenadier Guards by her father, accompanied her parents on official visits, joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service to help with the war effort, and trained to be an expert driver and mechanic. All these were done in preparation for her future role. However, Elizabeth did not think she would be queen anytime soon, as she fell in love and married Prince Philip. But getting married to Prince Philip was not an easy task, as her parents had at first strongly opposed the idea. Princess Elizabeth met Prince Philip when she was 13, and he was 18. She and her parents were on a visit to the Britannia Royal Naval College, Dartmouth in Devon. They were meant to meet with some of the cadets, and Philip was one of them. However, things did not go as planned due to an outbreak of mumps and chickenpox during the visit. Instead of attending a chapel service as originally arranged, they spent time in the headmaster's house. Philip, who had not been affected by the illness, came in to entertain the young princesses.
Let me begin by saying thank you to all the thousands of kind people.
While they grew bored from staying indoors and doing nothing, he invited Princess Elizabeth and her sister Margaret outside. They watched him run and play freely in the grounds, and it was from this moment that Elizabeth quietly fell in love with him. After this first meeting, they began writing letters to each other. Elizabeth even kept a photograph of him in her room while he was serving with the Royal Navy during the war years. After the war, their relationship grew stronger, and Philip asked her to marry him. However, her father refused at first. He feared Elizabeth was too young and settling for the first man she had met, worrying that she might later meet someone else and change her mind about Philip. They avoided discussing the matter for a while, but that was not all. Some in royal circles felt Philip was too brusque, too unpolished, too German, too Greek, too un-English to marry Princess Elizabeth. Yet Elizabeth was firm in her choice, and a year later, in July 1947, shortly after her 21st birthday, they became engaged. That November, they were married. For her, Philip renounced his Danish and Greek royal titles and became a member of the Church of England. All this he did out of love for Elizabeth. After their wedding, Philip continued serving in the Navy. They had their first son, Charles, and then their daughter, Anne. Philip traveled often, while Elizabeth stayed in England with the children. But 5 years later, everything changed when Elizabeth's father died. She was just 25 years old. Philip gave up his naval career and returned with her to Buckingham Palace, where she became queen. On Coronation Day, he knelt before her, pledging to be her liegeman for life, giving her his unwavering support. They later had 2 more children, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. During her reign, Queen Elizabeth modernized the monarchy. She engaged warmly with care home residents during visits, reducing strict ceremonial protocols, opening royal sites like Buckingham Palace and the crown jewels to the public, and cutting back royal spending. She oversaw the abolition of the centuries-old civil list in 2012, presenting a more approachable monarchy. She also supported the Commonwealth across her 70-year reign, promoting peace, unity, and development among its nations. In 2017, Queen Elizabeth II made history by becoming the first and only British monarch to celebrate a Sapphire Jubilee, marking 65 years on the throne. The Royal Mint issued 8 new commemorative coins in her honor, and the date also marked the anniversary of her father's death. Queen Elizabeth went on to celebrate 70 years on the throne, marking her Platinum Jubilee. While many hoped she would reign for more years, the Queen was already frail and advanced in age. On September 8, 2022, at exactly 3:10 p.m., she took her final breath with Princess Anne at her side. King Charles was not present at the time, as he had gone to attend to certain royal duties. It was a deeply sad day for the nation, though the Queen had lived a remarkable life of service. The crown then passed to King Charles. Immediately after Queen Elizabeth's death, on the 10th of September, Charles was officially proclaimed king by the Accession Council, followed by proclamations across the other Commonwealth realms. Camilla was also declared Queen Consort. Afterwards, the coronation date was set for May 2023. The timing was suitable to allow the nation to mourn the death of the great monarch, Elizabeth II. Charles' coronation took place in Westminster Abbey. Royal families and guests from all over the world were in attendance. With the ceremony, a new chapter for the monarchy began. The national anthem was updated to say King instead of Queen. Charles became head of the Commonwealth. All newly issued passports now pledge service to the King, and prayers in churches are offered in his name. It was a historic moment for King Charles. However, as the oldest monarch ever to begin a reign, at the age of 73, it has not been an easy path for him and Queen Camilla. Age is not on their side, and health concerns have been a growing factor. Despite this, King Charles has worked to make a meaningful impact. During his decades as Prince of Wales, he founded nearly 20 charities, collectively raising over $140 million each year to support young people between the ages of 11 and 30 in gaining education, training, and employment. Long before becoming king, Charles was a vocal advocate for environmental conservation. Now, as monarch, he has placed environmental responsibility at the heart of his reign, bringing green values to center stage and reshaping public perception of what a modern king can champion in both policy and culture. During the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference in Dubai on December 1, 2023, King Charles delivered a speech, and one of the infamous lines was that, "It is our grandchildren who will live with the consequences of climate action or inaction. As the earth does not belong to us, we belong to the earth." King Charles continued in his mother's legacy, determined to preserve what she built while also guiding the monarchy into a new era. He has begun working to modernize the institution, ensuring it remains relevant in the 21st century. This includes adapting royal traditions to reflect contemporary values and engaging with a diverse and changing public. Charles has also shown strong support for Ukraine during Russia's invasion. He has spoken of the indescribable aggression faced by Ukrainians since what he calls the unprovoked attack on their land. His remarks signaled a clear stance and served as a call for international assistance. The king welcomed the ongoing backing from the UK and its allies, and even visited Ukrainian refugees who had fled across the border into Romania in search of safety. In the UK, he met with members of the Ukrainian community, listening to their stories of loss and resilience. On a state visit to France in 2023, he addressed the Senate, stressing the importance of a Ukrainian victory against Russia's horrifying assault so that our cherished freedoms will prevail. It is unusual for a British monarch to speak so directly and without ambiguity about an international conflict, but Charles's words left no doubt about his position. Even as the crown will one day pass to Prince William, there is confidence that William will remain a steady and committed king. Many hope that when William takes the throne, he and his brother Harry will work things out. though it's been reported by insiders that William hasn't forgiven Harry's decision to leave the monarchy. However, it is certain that when William and Catherine ascended the throne, their reign would be different. What do you think of King Charles's decision to name Prince William and Princess Catherine as heirs? Why do you think he made this decision? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.